Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my DRYTRON deck profile. For the next format, this is going to be the Herald variant. So I've been messing around a little bit with these lists for quite some time, and I think that this is something really cool and different as far as a Herald approach to the deck that I did want to bring some sort of attention to it. So here we are. I also did want to do this like over Dueling Book rather than just like a live profile, because I did kind of want to explain a couple of things, as well as give a couple of options in the side deck that you could do to like change the list, because I don't think that this list is perfect and you can obviously change some things in it to make it like function a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and go through it. So, I mean, the DRYTRON names, I don't think that I'm really going to go too much through in depth with them. There's 19 names, like, in total. I did want to talk about Fafnir for a second, which is really cool, because someone in my comment section actually brought up that you can use Fafnir as an interruption against Sprite, because you can reduce their levels to 1, using the effect. If you control a DRYTRON and they summon a monster, you can basically just reduce their level by 1. So it goes to 1 level, and then they can't use it for Elf or for Gigantic, which is pretty cool. Well, they can use it for Elf, but they have to have like another level 2. But you know what I mean? Like, they can't use that specific monster as a level 2 requirement, which is really cool. So I think it's actually a really cool inclusion in the deck to like bump this card up to multiple copies, because in previous lists it's only been used at like a 1 or like sometimes a 2 of, but I think that like moving forward it should be like a 2 of at minimum, especially because you can definitely cut down copies of Nova in place of this and just play like 3 Nova, or sorry, 3 Fafnir and then just like 2 Nova, so like replace the ratios. I think that could be interesting. Obviously that plays harder into stuff like Droll, and it's just it also loses to like Cosmic Cyclone, which like obviously Nova doesn't naturally just do that, so it's like a little bit different, and so like maybe it's worth considering that, but I don't think those cards are like super popular enough that it's like too big of a deal. But it might come up sometimes where you like only have 2 DRYTRONs and then you just lose to your opponent activating Cosmic Cyclone on your Fafnir, you know. So I think that it's really cool, but especially if you're going to be bumping the deck count up higher, then including more copies of Fafnir just seems like the way to go, just because of that simple thing. So I think that moving forward, I'll probably start playing minimum 2 copies of this, if not 3, in every single DRYTRON deck. So that was really cool. One of Field Spell, obviously this will change depending on the format, like depending on what happens. If people start maining DD Crow or siding DD Crow more often, this might come up to 2. So I did want to mention that as well. It's probably not too big of a deal either way in this deck, though. I don't think that there's too much else to say, but I did want to go over the preparation of rights. So this is really good in the deck because of Beta Buster, because you don't really have a good way to search for Beta Buster. So in this way, you have 5 ways to get to Beta Buster, just like naturally. You can obviously normal summon Diviner and turn it into an Arclight, sending it, searching Beta Buster, or the preparation of rights searches it. So you have a bunch of different ways to get to the Beta Buster. And it's not really good unless if you open good already, and then you can use your Diviner to, instead of searching for Ben 10 or for Perfection, you can search for Beta Buster. So I think it's really dependent on the hand, but this card is just so good because it plays around Dark Ruler, or like into Dark Ruler. Obviously, like if they activate Dark Ruler, you can just negate it with the unlocking, which is like so good. So I think that this will probably be staple moving forward, but I don't know for sure. Moving on. Obviously, like the Angel package is just like insane. You don't need Idothin. Just don't play it anymore. It's just not very good unless if you're doing something very specific with it. There could be an argument to play it so that you can use it to search for Dawn of the Herald, because obviously you can use it to search for any ritual monster from your, or ritual spell, sorry, from your deck. So you can just add Dawn from deck to hand, which is really good, but I don't think that it's really that worth. Natasha's really good, obviously. Perfection, because we are on pre-preparation of rights, so we're playing the prep package, which means that we're not on ultimateness. You could definitely play ultimateness, but I think that you're missing out on free advantage with this card, because this card is just busted. But I think there could be an argument, if built right, to play ultimateness over this. We also are on Beta Buster, unlocking Orange Light as well, just because, I mean, we can search a billion fairies, so might as well search for Orange Light. It's really good. Call by the Grave, and then the droplets. We could also play Dark Rulers over this, but I think the droplets are just better just because you already get so much advantage out of your graveyard, so you might as well. And then something really interesting at the very bottom of the list. You guys probably don't even know about these cards. We have Super Quantum Fairy Alphen and Super Quantum White Layer. So these admittedly are pretty bad, but it can be a replacement for EVA. Because if you think about it, I mean, in the EVA deck, you were playing like typically like 2 orange light and then like a copy of EVA. So there's 3 slots that are kind of bricks. In this deck, it's a similar thing. So you're playing a Fairy Alphen, a White Layer, and an orange light. So there's 3 fairy bricks. You know, it's the same bricks. It works out the same. But the difference here is obviously this is a level 1 that you can normal summon. Its effect is irrelevant. It doesn't do anything. Basically, it's basically just a vanilla monster. It is important that it is level 1, so sometimes if you're in a weird situation where you open something like Delta Ben 10 or something like that, you can go Delta Tribute Ben 10, then use Ben 10 to grab the fairy from deck in a hand, and then you can just normal summon it, and then use Delta and the fairy to make Fafnir, and then send a Drytron, so you can kind of play. It's a little bit awkward, but it does do something, which is really cool. It can also make Zeus sometimes because of the Fafnir play, like I just said. But more importantly, we're playing this card because of White Layer. So basically what White Layer does is that when it's sent from the deck, or sorry, not deck, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Super Quantal Fairy Alphen from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So this basically makes this card recyclable. So if you have both of these cards in your hand, you can discard the Fairy Alphen to negate, and then you can discard the White Layer to negate, and then you can use White Layer to add Alphen from your graveyard back to your hand, and then use it as another negate. So that's going to be 3 negates off of 2 cards. It's obviously not as good as EVA. I will admit that. There are some situations where it's better than EVA, especially when EVA was at 1, because if EVA was at 1 and you normal summoned like your EVA and linked or used it for Fafnir, then like you're not getting your EVA back. You're not getting your full advantage out of EVA. But in this deck, if you do that with your Alphen and then you get rid of it, then you can still search White Layer and still get the Alphen back from your graveyard. So it's like better in EVA in some ways, but obviously at the end of the day, EVA was just 100% better. This does, I mean, obviously this just produces 1 less negate than EVA did, but sometimes you don't even need that last final negate. It's just more of insurance than anything. So it's really cool. I think that the idea is good, but currently in this format, it's just really hard to like pull these off consistently because of Dark Ruler's existence. So that's like, you're trying to more towards go to like something to like stop Dark Ruler rather than set up like 10 negates in your hand. You know what I mean? Like you have to have like some sort of backup plan just in case. So it's also why the orange light's pretty good as well, because you can obviously discard the White Layer for orange light and then you can still search. So that's like pretty good. It does like do like certain things like that like is like still really good, just like the EVA, but it's not quite as good. But yeah, moving on into some options you can play. I guess we'll go through the side deck. This is pretty much like pretty standard for the most part. I just mostly pick like more important cards. Assembled Nightingale could be really cool, obviously, because you can just like attack directly and then make Zeus. But you do realistically have like a lot of free space in this deck. Like you can take this out. You can probably take out the Underworld Goddess. You might even be able to take out like the Herald and Mirage Lights. Like there's definitely a couple cards that you can just like take and replace with like other cards in the game. And yeah, but I think that this is a pretty good extra deck for the most part. The Mirage Lights is much better in this deck, obviously, because you're able to add the fairies back to your hand and you're playing more fairies. So it actually makes like this live. If you, for some reason, don't have access to Perfection, you can just like make this and then like set up something else with your board. But yeah, let's go through the tech options. You can play Recital Starling, which is really cool because you can search DD Crow. And obviously DD Crow is really good because it's a 1 that makes, you know, Fafnir and stuff like that. So even if you draw it, you can still like normal summon it and sometimes do stuff with it. So yeah, it's pretty good. I think that Recital Starling is like pretty decent as well. Yeah. you could also play Nightmare Griffin because you do put a lot of bodies on your board. So basically you can just like make Beatrice and then send one of the traps like Point of the Red Lotus or Judgment or just something like that. And then you can use Nightmare Griffin to just set it back to your board. You could also play a Floodgate, but realistically you're trying to protect your Perfection. So having something like this is as protection for the Perfection is like really solid. You could also play Herald of Greenlight, obviously because we're on more fairies, so you're going to be searching more often. And more importantly, this isn't out to mine. If they activate mine, you can chain this and then just negate it. So that's actually pretty decent. It's not bad. Obviously, you probably just use the Perfection to negate it anyways, so it's not like that good. But I mean, if you get Dark Rulered and you don't have your unlocking and you still have Greenlight in hand, you can negate a mine, so that's pretty cool. You could also play Shooting Riser Dragon because Diviner is a level 6. One of these is a 1. You can make Shooting Riser, and then it can send either Necrold Banshee or Token Collector. So you can zombie lock them, or you can, if you're playing against Sword Soul or something like that, or Adventure, which these admittedly aren't too popular. Necrold Banshee is probably the better option because a lot of people are sometimes on like Flunder and stuff like that, or just like typing in general is pretty good. I think something really funny actually is against Tier Element. They can't really fuse, at least not like super well. They can fuse like some things still, like obviously like sometimes Dragostapelia, or like I think they can still fuse for the, I can't think of the name right now, Garura. They can make Garura. I think they can even make Mud Dragon. Probably not actually. I don't think they can make Mud Dragon. I can't remember the thing. Is it types? It's either like same types or different attributes, or I can't remember exactly, but I don't think they can make Mud Dragon, Kit Kalos. They can't make Kaleido Heart. You know, it shuts off like a couple things, which is pretty good. So maybe this will see play against Tier Element. It could be really cool. And then when you're done, you can use your Shooting Riser, which is level 3, plus any DRYTRON, and you can make Herald of the Arclight, so you can have a negate on top of it. And then obviously the Arclight, when it negates, you're going to get follow-up. And the Arclight is just insane because obviously they can't add from, or say not that they can't add, but any card sent to the hand or deck to the grave is banished instead. So that's really good against Tier Element, obviously. But they can like bait this in a couple of ways, so it's not like perfect. Yeah, more consistency. You could obviously play Pot of Prosperity, or if you're not playing Remote Duels, you could play Jack in the Hand. If you play Remote Duels, don't put this in your deck. You'll get like a game, probably disqualified to be honest. But yeah, another thing that you can do with this deck is you can play the Megalith package. You can play full Ophiel. And then with this, basically, it enables a lot of different things because you're going to be putting a lot of level 6 monsters on the board because full is obviously level 6. And then with the Benton that you tribute to summon the Ophiel, you can probably search for Idaten, and then you can use Ophiel to tribute, summon the Idaten, add back a ritual spell, and then you can overlay those for Beatrice to send something, and then you can summon back the Idaten and overlay it with Diviner for another level or another rank 6, so you can summon M7. And then with your Beatrice, you can probably send a white layer to add Alphen from your deck to your hand. And then you can activate M7 to add back the white layer back to your hand. So you'll have these 2 cards in your hand, and then you can just establish your Herald. And then you can turn the remaining Beatrice and M7 into a Utopic Draco Future, which is pretty good because then you'll have a monster negate. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And then you'll have the Perfection and then 2 cards in hand. So even if they have like an Ultimate Slayer or something like that, they can like, you know, obviously send this back or something. I don't know. It's just like a thought process. I don't know if this is actually like really good, but it could be cool. I think that realistically, the Griffin line is probably going to be better than the Megalith engine because these are just adding bricks. But if you wanted, you could just take out like the preps, maybe take out the Beta Buster unlocking, maybe, I don't know, and then like the Dawn of the Herald, and then you can add in the Megalith package and then Idaten, and then maybe it'll do something, you know, maybe you could try that out. I don't know if it's actually going to be really good or not, especially because you're not setting like a counter trap. So like, I don't know if it's actually really good, but it's just something that I really thought of during the process of making this deck. So yeah, if you want to see like a realistic side deck, I think I have one right here. Yep. So we have this is like something you could do. So we have Lancias. Obviously, if you just like get D-shifted, you're just gonna lose. This doesn't really like do anything obviously on your turn because you can't activate it on your turn, but like against like Flunder you can obviously just like use it. So I don't even know why I brought the D shifter thing up, but that doesn't even matter against this card. It doesn't do anything. Ultimate Slayer, this is probably the best deck to play Ultimate Slayer in. You don't even need to play the Evil Twin. You can just play this card just because you have every single card in your extra deck. So it's just like a free, like, just that card's a problem, put it back, basically. That card's insane. Triple Tactics Talents. So when going first, you can probably replace the droplets for this card, so that you can, play through like certain interruptions that your opponent may draw. Obviously, when going second, you can also put it in probably over like Unlocking and Beta Buster. Maybe you can take out like the Preps and like the Dawn and put this in. Put in like the Ultimate Slayer and stuff like that. And then Cosmic Cyclone, because obviously mine is a problem, and Runic. And same thing with the evenly matched, just for like the back row decks. So yeah, that's like the idea for the deck. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions in the comment section below. I think that this is a pretty decent deck. I think that when it's built right, I think that this deck will actually just be like insane. But for right now, I think the other list I posted, which if you're unsure, I'll probably be putting a title card up at the end of the video. But the list I posted a couple days ago, the Scythe DRYTRON deck, is probably better than this one. So I would highly recommend checking that out if you haven't already. With all that said, thanks for watching, guys. And like I said, if you have any suggestions, put them in the comment section below. And with all that said, I'll see you guys probably in a couple days with another variant of this deck.